What's going on, everybody? It's your boy motherfucking Insight 11, man. Right now we coming back at you with another video. We talking about the importance of putting in energy and effort in your motherfucking purpose. Because check this out. I came up with all this logical framework right now that I'm gonna go over, just so we can understand the times we in, the society we in, and how much the society we in create such circumstances and situations for us to jump into and shit like that, so a person can be lazy and disciplined. And here's the thing, right? You still got to be accountable and responsible to understand that whatever you're putting energy and effort into, whether it's mentally or physically, is something that's going to yield you towards a bad result versus something that's going to yield you to a good result. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right into this, man. Basically we are in a time and a society where most people cater to what's comfortable, what's easy, and what's pleasurable, aka short-term pleasures that are easily accessible and readily available, things that cater to the pleasures and desires of the flesh, where this physical body is exalted over the mental body. So a lot of people don't take care of their mind. They rather do things that cater to this god damn it flesh and shit like that, things that are pleasurable, things that are comfortable, to fulfill a person's desires and shit like that. And desires and pleasures ain't necessarily good or bad either. It's just that if you have too much pleasures, too much comfortability, then that could potentially create the environment or just the circumstance for a person to be lazy, because overly indulging, overly catering to something just makes a person too comfortable and not necessarily grow, because the condition that's required for growth is going to be you being uncomfortable and stuff like that, throwing yourself in something new so you can expand your mind, expand your awareness, expand your consciousness, and develop new mental forms on how to do something that you've never done before. And a lot of the times that can be a really uncomfortable, quote unquote uncomfortable experience for a person, but yet that's the condition that's going to be required for a person to go through some form of growth. So you know what I'm saying? Uncomfortability is not something to run away from, contrary to popular belief. Uncomfortability is actually something to be approached with discipline and with love, quite frankly, because it actually just leads to something new. It leads to newness. You know what I'm saying? But see, it's a paradigm shift that a person gotta go through when you're operating from the consumer point of view versus the producer point of view, because the producer is always going to be rewarded way more than the consumer, because the consumer is constantly consuming products but not coming up with anything. Therefore they're not exercising their mind, they're not creating something using their mind to for an awareness to carry out with their goddamn body and shit like that. That's gonna lead to them being some form of producer. A lot of the times people use their mind to cater to desires, to cater to pleasures, to cater to comforts, just via them having that on their mind and shit like that, and they start to carry out actions of motherfucking catering to too much comfort. This can look like overeating. This can look like just overindulging into shit that's not necessarily healthy for you and stuff like that. And your society put a lot of starting points for you to jump into shit that's not healthy for you. One of these things could be, it's not that it's good or bad. Once again, it's just all about balance and shit like that. Where if a motherfucker, for example, smoke too many motherfucking cigarettes, okay, goddamn it, maybe you gotta deal with yourself internally and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times these toxic products be used for us to suppress something that's within us. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you cigarettes are good or bad. I'm just going to say that overindulging into something without self-control and balance may lead to a demise, or may lead to over toxicity, just because we're overly saturating, saturating ourselves with some shit, right? Rather than that, because consumption eventually just leads to some form of comfort where you're not necessarily expanding yourself. Now, if you want to do both of them simultaneously and shit like that, ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just all about balance, and that's why I'm bringing about this motherfucking video, right? Because a lot of the times when we overly indulge in these things and it becomes a comfort, a person may not necessarily put themselves in a space, or jump out of that space to jump into a space of productivity. They might just choose to cater to that comfort, cater to that desire and shit like that, keep them comfortable where they at, therefore not leading into any type of growth and shit like that. And since a lot of this shit is normalized in society, a lot of people are on the same algorithm of quote unquote being a consumer, not being a producer. And that's why we have quote unquote elites in society that are able to produce intellectual properties for people to be indoctrinated and ran by under and shit like that, like the schooling. Now, I'm not saying education is bad by any stretch of the imagination or anything like that, but what I am saying, however, is that you have to understand that's a man-made intellectual property that a man made based upon being a producer. Now in the classroom, there's someone that's a consumer, there's someone that's a producer. Now it's not bad to be a consumer, but don't get too comfortable being in someone else's environment, space type of shit. You learn to develop your own mind, where you have both street smarts and you have both book smarts and shit like that. You combine the two, you a bad motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how to logically construct and practicalize and carry out instructions via systematic, methodical thinking and shit like that, or creating your own systems. And you're emotionally intelligent and shit like that, and you understand people's intentions, what feelings people are in, and shit like that. So it's two different worlds, day and night, that a person got to learn to mix together and all that good shit, so a person can, like, you know what I'm saying, just expand out of that mind and not get lost in some form of bias and shit like that. But that's another video and shit like that. Let's keep going with this motherfucking shit. Yeah, so a lot of times people will exalt their flesh over their mental body, not realizing that this is why we make up quotes and sayings like a person, motherfucking, what's it called? Oh fuck, it's slipping my mind. Yeah, it's to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because if a person doesn't work harder on their mind and works harder on their, because here's the thing, people get lost in the external objective world and forget that the starting point is the mental world. So the better you do the shadow work, the better you take care of your mind, you'll actually be doing way better at that job than the people that work there that cater to that shit. Because it's not about that. It's about like some spiritual shit behind closed doors and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and since we live in a society where everyone is doing things, essentially a life overly focused on a consumer culture, aka consumption, which creates laziness and basically breeds mediocrity and shit like that, right? Due to not having a productive process and practice that is based upon a pursuit of purpose that caters to a long-term goal, which naturally develops great characteristics like discipline, patience, love of your craft, individuality, problem-solving skills, negotiating skills. The list of aspects and abilities you can develop are unlimited. You know what I'm saying? Because the universe is unlimited, and if you're a reflection of the universe, then that means you have that unlimited potential inside of you. But you gotta learn to get out of that finite mental form that a lot of the times we'll be stuck into, and learn to see beyond the horizons that, you know what I'm saying, that we was in. Because the world is way bigger than our motherfucking minds, and it's waiting for us to motherfucking experience it. Real shit. Only if you choose not to live in that finite limited reality and start to make decisions that are based upon a point of view of the long term and not the short term, right? Because a lot of people are jumping into stuff based on the short term because again they're catering to that fleshly desire and shit like that, and they want it now, and they don't got no self-control and stuff like that. For you to go for a long-term goal, you gotta like have some form of self-control and shit like that, like, because it's about your energy, so at the space, about the mind that you're in. You can jump into stocks, for example, but if you're like a low vibrational person, you don't have self-control and shit like that, you might jump into a stock, not have like an understanding of what you're doing and shit like that, and you might get scared because the stock goes down. You might be like, oh shit, I'm scared, let me just draw with my hand, and boom, the stock might go up. So it's like, you really gotta have like self-control and shit like that and know what you're doing, because it's like, it's a lot of emotional influences here that can throw off the, you know, the space that your spirit is in and shit like that. One of those predominantly being fear in this world. A lot of people are subconsciously ran by the fear program in this world, and that causes them to do things that don't necessarily make sense out of just a space of fear, being worried and having doubt and shit like that about tomorrow and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the most annoying motherfucking programs, mental programs, emotions that be floating in people's minds, that be fucking everybody up and shit like that. Real shit. So this is where you need to normalize the opposite of being comfortable, right? Like we spoke about earlier, seeking pleasure, right? And you need to start normalizing being uncomfortable and disciplined, so you can steadily grow, add value to yourself and others through changing one's lifestyle. Right? Because you want to make long-term lifestyle changes. Because if you don't make long-term lifestyle changes, then, because it should be this automatic process, this practice that you do on a daily basis that naturally refines you, naturally beautifies you, that you're passionate about, that you're aggressive about. There should just be something that, you know, there should be just something that leads you to growth. And a lot of the times, it'd be based upon your natures, it'd be based upon, if you understand astrology a little bit, based upon your north node and stuff like that. And all these is just ways for us to, you know, charts and diagrams to track which direction a person's spirit need to expand towards in order to, you know, go through some form of uncomfortability within that particular space of energy and shit, which we'll talk about in another video and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? So we can just get an understanding of ourselves and our own internal map, because a lot of the times people get lost in the world, for example, and try to replicate and duplicate what someone else done, celebrities and things of that nature, or someone in their environment, or just creating some type of internally jealousy type of energy where they don't necessarily need to be in that if they just get rid of whatever is stopping them personally from doing that same thing. And a lot of times, like I said, it just be fear and shit like that. Motherfuckers just, you know, can't get outside of these forms, these jail cells that they've created for themselves. So a lot of the times, people may hate on other people, but a person that hates on other people, really, they've got some form of insecurity. And what they need to do is just direct that energy of hatred to melt that internal feeling, that internal, you know, that internal insecurity, that internal, you know, shit that's stopping motherfucker from doing what the fuck they do in life. God damn it, pursue a life of purpose. Because people don't believe in themselves. That's the thing. You gotta really put your faith, belief, and imagination in yourself. You gotta put that in you. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Yeah. So yeah, make sure you make long-term lifestyle changes, right? Where that shit becomes your new norm. You normalize that shit, because that shit's gonna lead you into like all types of wonderful places. You've never been mentally, you've never been physically, and shit like that, just based upon the new energetic space that you're foundating yourself into. And it's all about, and it's not about being, you get from one destination to other, point A to point B. Nah, it's about, it's really constantly expanding. Like, you know, I like how my boy Brother Will says it. He says some shit like, or the Bible actually says, going glory to glory, going from glory to glory to glory and shit like that. Where you're just expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting type of shit like that, right? Well, because when something no longer serves you, you close the door on it and you move on to something bigger and better type of shit. Not necessarily bigger and better, because I don't want to describe it in that way, but you know, that's another topic that I would talk about later, because you know, when you get into the spiritual world, it's not about what's bigger and smaller. It's just really just about observation, point of view, angles, and all types of shit. But that's like another topic and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, because you gotta remember, right? When you're adding value to yourself, you're also adding value to others. But make sure you don't scatter these pearls that you're gaining amongst swine, aka people that don't value that energy that you got, because that would be like making an investment in the wrong place and shit like that. That'd be like wasting it and shit like that, right? And you'll learn that from your own life, right? Pretty much. Because why hang out with people, for example, that are not aligned for an energetic space where you're going? You know what I'm saying? They're not like quote unquote on the level type of shit. Cause it's like, let's only slow you down. Where this is where a lot of, well, this is where you start to look at it like, damn, I'm an elite and this person's acting dumb. Like, to the point that you might actually, because when you start to operate from like, I don't want to say a millionaire standpoint or a high vibrational standpoint, when you're doing your purpose and you're going down enough, going far in that shit, it's gonna be almost like a separation between that person and the everyday person, where it's like, why does the everyday person operate from this standpoint? It's kind of like retarded. And retarded is not a bad word. It just means that someone is really slow mentally to problem solving, get out of their problem internally, externally type of shit. So that's what like retarded means. Someone that's slow to change themselves via experiences and shit like that, because that's how you grow. You can't be afraid of new experiences. In fact, you gotta seek out new experiences so you can actually expand and shit like that. Because when I make a new drawing, that's a new experience. When I make a new video, that's a new experience. When I make a new writing, that's a new experience. So all these things are my spirit going in and out of forms and expanding my consciousness, my awareness, so I can, you know, come at things from a more bigger point of view, where you become the big spirit and shit like that. And you might hear those terms, this person is a strong spirit, this person is a big spirit. Like, they can push a lot of weight mentally and shit like that, to the point that certain circumstances, situations that they experience that may overweigh a person normally, they may be able to go through a lot more better, just because their spirit can push more weight. It's kind of like going to the mental gym, but it's kind of like going to the physical gym, but instead it's the mental gym, where you're doing shit, you're lifting weights, and those weights are just thoughts and feelings that may be negative, that redirect your mind towards feelings, accumulating awarenesses, conscious forms, thoughts and shit like that that are not aligned with your purpose, aka you going against yourself and shit like that. And if you know anything about, you know, demonology, psychology, which is nothing to be spooked about and shit like that, because, you know, if you study King James and shit like that, you'll realize King James also read demonology, blah blah blah, to make the Bible, because the Bible is really a book about psychology and shit like that. So when you talk about the idea of Satan, you're just talking about someone that creates an internal thought that opposes themselves. So this person opposes themselves internally, and it play out like them opposing themselves externally, where they almost kind of like want to go for something, want to do something in their life, but they kind of like contradict themselves and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So let's not ever get it twisted. A lot of these esoteric concepts, a lot of this spiritual shit come from a real spiritual space, but you got to learn to get out of these point of views that a lot of times man give you, that people get lost in externally, objectively, so they're not able to decode what's going on behind those terminologies and, you know, the space that a person may be coming from to even create an intellectual property like that and shit. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Yeah, so you want to be able to, because here's the thing, right? You gotta always remember this, right? The most important thing is to start doing it objectively, right? Because wishful thinking and positive thinking can only do so much, right? Without a change in positive action that is steadily moving you towards the status quo forward, right? Because a lot of people do wishful thinking, positive thinking. Okay, that's fantastic. You know, frequencies and vibrations are very powerful. You can be in the space of gratitude, accumulate gratitude, and that will be like something that you emanate from your space and shit like that. And, you know, if you resonate that, you're going to resonate that externally, and you might get something from the universe type of shit, because whatever space you in is exactly what you're getting. That's why a lot of the times a person may keep recreating the same circumstances, situations, duplicating their life and shit like that, aka being in Groundhog's Day, not realizing it's because of the subconsciously embedded awareness, which is a, you know, a curriculum. You can go back to words from my other videos, you can check that out. Videos titled Subconsciously Embedded Awareness, where we talk about, you know, where a person may be coming from as an internal space that's manifesting their life externally, that a person may need to do shadow work on and to get out of, so they can, so their spirit can start to go into and do bigger, better things type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. So we also live in a time where everyone feels like they are entitled to stuff, carrying around this unhealthy ego. It's like motherfuckers is like egomaniacs, but in the wrong reason. Now here's the thing, I'm not gonna tell you it's wrong to have a big ego. There's a time and space for the ego Martian passion, aggression, energy and shit like that. But the average person in society got this like crazy, unhealthy, damaged ego and shit like that, thinking like they entitled to shit without putting in any effort, any energy, any work. And even after that, nobody still owes you shit. But it's about the character you develop. See, when you develop a superior character, I don't even want to say like a superior character, I just want to say it like, you know, a more virtuous character. Like, you know, you're just a motherfucker that's fresh as fuck. That's the only way I can say it. You know, you're so fresh with the way you move mentally, the thoughts and feelings you create. It's just on some different shit. Yet it's just like you're just coming at shit from your own point of view, and the way you breathe life into existence just via being yourself is just damn. We ain't never seen that before. Like, what else can I say? Like, real shit, right? So that's the thing. You gotta like really put that work, energy, time, and work on yourself, and really strive not to be a lazy person, comfortable person. You will really find happiness when you're doing your purpose. Because a lot of people don't realize that your purpose is probably the shit that's gonna save your fucking life. Your purpose is the shit that's gonna save your life, not this a McDonald's burger, not a Popeye's chicken sandwich, like not the anime motherfuckers be watching. Like I said, ain't nothing wrong with these things, but don't get lost in these things and make your life just about these things and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Real shit. Yeah. So without even putting in any effort and work, like I was saying earlier, so it's simple, right? You want to change your life, change what you value, right? The things that align with your ideal lifestyle, valuing things that align with your ideal life. Work on grounding schedules and routines that align with that lifestyle, so you can eventually climb that mountain and be the GOAT, aka have a name for yourself, have a status, have some form of career and shit like that. And those long-term lifestyle changes that you have to implement is going to be really important for you to bring that into existence, because wishful thinking and positive thinking is not enough. You have to combine that with objective action. You have to have a process, you have to have a practice in place. Otherwise, you're just being a person who just be being delusional in their mind. It's like a person saying like, I'm a mechanic, but they never worked on a car in their life. They never went to a mechanic class. They never like even open the car hood, but I'm a mechanic. That doesn't even make no fucking sense. That's like that's like a logical fallacy almost type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even know what logical fallacy means, but I guarantee you if I look it up right now, it's gonna mean exactly what the fuck I was saying type of shit. Where a motherfucker's contradicting what they say and their logic don't make sense. Like it's false. It's false logic. Where you're speaking something, but the energetic space you in is gonna be some like shit, some subconscious dirt, man. You gotta clean that dirt. You gotta clean that shit up. You know what I'm saying? So basically, ultimately, remember this: you're already putting in energy and effort to expand on something, right? It could be Popeye's chicken sandwiches. It could be McDonald's burgers. It could be gambling all day. It could be whatever. Ain't no shame in anybody's game. Okay, you know what I'm saying? But once you're aware that what you're doing is not aligned with your ideal life, then you gotta really, really ask yourself, damn, why am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? A lot of times distractions are just a form of self-delusion to distract us from the things, the uncomfortable, harsh realities of life that a lot of times we know we gotta go through so we can start to actually create the reality that we claim or, you know, we ideally want to get to. But a lot of times a person's psychology may stop them from even putting in that energy, effort, and work. And you know what I'm saying? So a lot of times the shadow work is going to be really imperative and really important, because this is going to be where a person is understanding what's going on within their own psyche, so they can start to overcome these things and understand, okay, I'm just in some type of shape or form mentally, and I keep creating that shape and form everywhere I go, and it's not serving me my highest possible good. It's not serving me in the direction of my ideal life. So you know what? Let me start to put in the energy work in some way, shape, or form, or do the shadow work, and start to get out of these things, or hook up with individuals like myself, so we can actually start to get an individual on this journey of, you know what I'm saying, letting go and going into a new space. Real shit. Where you literally take your mind, your spirit, your awareness into a new space of awareness, and you start to hone that shit into existence, and now you're carrying out those duties and obligations and responsibilities in motherfucking 3D. Real shit. Yeah. So contract meaning basically like get smaller on the things that are removing you from these good efforts, right? So contract, move away from these efforts that don't yield that ideal life that you know you want, right? And start to expand your awareness and attention towards efforts that build characteristics towards that ideal life that you want. So without focused energy and persistent effort, that reality you wish to manifest is nothing but a delusion in the mind without an organized plan to bring it motherfucking about, right? So now the ball is in your court, player. What you gonna do? Real shit. With that being said, peace out, Inside 11.